رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
الدائمة على أعدائهم إلى قيامة يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله في محكم كتابه وقرآنه المجيد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما أعجلك عن قومك يا موسى قال هم أولئي على أثري وعجلت إليك ربي لترضى قال فإنا قد فتنا قومك من بعدك وأضلهم السامري فرجع موسى إلى قومه غضبان أسفا قال يا قوم ألم يعدكم ربكم وعدا حسنا أفطال عليكم العهد أم أردتم أن يحل عليكم غضب من ربكم فأخلفتم موعدي آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Dear respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The 83rd ayah of Surah Taha onwards is one of the few places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the story of a Samiri. For those of you who were present in one of my previous lectures, I don't remember exactly which one, but I mentioned in that one from this mimbar that there are 12, 6 from the previous nations and 6 from the later nations that are in what is known as the coffin, at the bottom of the coffin. The 6 from the beginning of time, or from the beginning generations, were as follows. Qabil, the son of Adam alayhi salam, Nimrud, the king at the time of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, Fir'aun of the time of Musa alayhi salam, Samiri from the time of Musa alayhi salam. So that's 4 so far. And then we have 2 titles. The Jew who created Judaism straight from Islam into Judaism, and the Jew who took people away from Nabi Isa's religion of Islam and created Christianity, which is known to us as Paul. These are the 6 from the previous generations. Now we come to the 6 from the latter generations. Some of us living after the 20th century, we might be expecting Hitler, Stalin, the names of Mussolini. Someone over here might be thinking Zia al-Haq. Someone might be thinking Muhammad bin Salman. No. The 6 from the later generations are as follows. The first Khalifa Abu Bakr. The second Khalifa Umar bin Khattab. The third Khalifa Uthman bin Affan. The fourth of this cabal, which is named in Ziyarat Ashura. Right? When we say Warabi', right? It's written behind me. You guys can find it. Don't do it during this lecture. Pay attention to me, and then inshallah afterwards go read it. The fourth of these is Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. So that's four. Number five, someone said it, Abdul Rahman ibn Muljam, the killer of Amir al-Mu'mineen. The sixth is the one who created the Khawarij movement and called Ali ibn Abi Talib a kafir. These are the six from the later generations. Now, we're going to go and rewind back to number four from the previous generations, Samiri. And we're going to learn a little bit from his lesson, and we're going to see why would Allah Ta'ala tell us his story from the time of Musa, and what relevance does it have for the community right after our Prophet, Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Does this have any relevance for us in later times today? Of course, everyone will be able to go and pay lip service to the Quran and say, yes, every story, every maw'idah, everything has relevance for all time. But if we were put on the spot and asked, okay, well, what can you show me from the story of Samiri for today? Many of us might not be able to come up with even one lesson. And this, unfortunately, shows not just our school of thought, but every school of thought's lack of a relationship with the Holy Quran. And this is something that these Ayame, not just Shahr Ramadan, all of the Ayame should be encouraging us to go back to. Right now, in the ghaiba of the second of the Thaqalain, we should be hanging on to that first of the Thaqalain, the Holy Quran. So let's now go into Surah Taha. One of the other places that it's mentioned, the more happier mention of this same story is in Surah Al-A'raf. Now, what the Quran will do is it'll take a different camera angle and it'll give a different vantage point of the same story. Such that you almost think that it's not even the same story. In Surah Al-A'raf, you'll see a lot more of the meeting between Musa and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the mountain. Here, that's shortened, it's truncated, and we go to the problem makers in the people of Musa, So let's get started. Musa alayhi salam, as a little bit of a backstory, is having trouble with Bani Israel. Bani Israel, for those of you who do not know, the children of Israel at the time of Prophet Musa were extremely annoying. Now, there is a claim today from the state of Israel that, oh yeah, we are the same Jews, we are the same chosen people. There's a huge disconnect, however, between the historical Bani Israel and today's Zionists. They're not the same. Maybe there's some lineage here or there, but for us to go and take the ghadab of Allah Ta'ala, of Bani Israel, how much they were trying their prophet, and use those ayat over here, they may not exactly translate one to one. There are ayat in the Quran that will go and condemn what they are doing. But it's not fair to go and say, well, your ancestors were always like this, therefore you will always be like this. And many who have sat on the minbar like this have addressed this same kind of topic when they're trying to defend the people of Kufa. Kufa then, at the time of Imam Hussein, that betrayed Abu Abdullah is not the same as the people of Kufa today. Kufa today is part of Greater Najaf. And so, Bani Israel then has their problems. Bani Israel then also has their heroes who we look up to. Dawood and Talut, who go and fight Jalut. David and King Saul, who go and fight Goliath. They are our heroes, aren't they? But they're also from Bani Israel. At the same time, people like Samiri, people like Paul of Tarsus, these are also from technically Bani Israel. And of course, they have the La'na of Allah. They are sitting and rotting away in the deepest pits of hell, as they should. So, just like that, we have to be nuanced in our study. So, when Allah brings Musa for his meeting on the mountain, Musa alayhi salam knows, okay, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling me, then there's going to be wahy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, knows what I'm going through. So Musa alayhi salam already, number one, he's dealing with Bani Israel. who are very, very annoying. Actually, in the biblical account, there are attempts where Bani Israel, where the children of Israel, try to kill him. That's not in the Quran. But in Surah Saf, we see Prophet Musa alayhi salam, لِمَ تُؤْذُونَنِي وَقَدْ تَعْلَمُونَ أَنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكُمْ. Why do you annoy me so much when you know that I'm the messenger of Allah sent towards you? In the biblical account, they try to kill him. So Musa alayhi salam, do you think he really likes being in the company of Bani Israel? Or if he gets an invitation from Rabbul Alameen, come have 30 days of private conversation with you, do you think he would want to go and talk to Allah? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why do you think it was so easy? One aspect of why it was so easy for him to go and do Salat al-Layl every single night is because it's alone time between him and his Lord, and he doesn't have to go and deal with the annoying Quraysh. And sometimes the annoying people within his own ummah. You think he stopped after Mecca? You think once Quraysh are over there in Mecca and he's in Medina, now he just has Muslims around him, the problems were solved? Probably the problems were multiplied. They're in his house and they're in his in-laws. So just like how for Rasulullah there is solace going back to his Lord and communicating with him, there is solace for Nabi Musa. So Nabi Musa, knowing that he gets a little bit of vacation, not necessarily a vacation, but some time away from these people. He's leaving them in capable hands. We're going to see who he leaves Bani Israel in the hands of. But now he has time to go towards Allah. Second, he knows that he's going to get a solution from Allah. So when Allah gives an invitation, is he doing anything wrong by hurrying to go to Allah? I ask you, the common mu'min. Inshallah, Allah counts all of us, you and myself, as mu'mineen. If we come to the mosque early, if we come and we're here before the adhan, you think Allah is going to reward us, or he's going to, go and say, hey, why did you do that? He's going to question us. Of course, he's going to reward us. Like, wow, shabash, good job. Musa alayhi salam, however, is in the position of a leader. And so Allah questions him, وَمَا أَعْجَلَكَ عَنْ قَوْمِكَ يَا Musa? What made you go and hurry up from your people, O Musa? Why? Because each and every single second, because Musa knows that these people are in trouble. He knows if he goes away, and here's part 2 of the backstory, as they're going out of Egypt, they're of course going 40 years in the wilderness, and they're not exactly making it to the promised land. But on the way, they see a lot of other nations and tribes and cultures and see their gods, and specifically the gods of Canaan, and see that they have bulls as idols. And they're like, that's pretty cool. Musa, can you hook us up with a pretty idol like that? Now you'd think, after 10 years of this prophet of God going to war basically with Pharaoh, these people have got the basic message of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah or Musa Rasulullah, right? At least the basics of it down. And yet, to their messenger's face, they're like, hey, can we have one? Can we have an idol? It'll help us with our attention span. Look how much these guys are able to go and focus on their worship. Me, I go into worship, and 2 seconds later, I'm thinking about biryani, and I'm thinking about, dal chawal, and I'm thinking about, you read the grocery list that they have in Surah Al-Baqarah, right? من عدسها وقثائها وفومها وبصلها. It's like here, Musa, your God can go and split the sea, right? So here's a grocery list. I'm sure he can make us a salad. You know why, by the way, they wouldn't even ask for that? Don't think that these are Bani Israel, they don't know how to give thanks. I'm sure 99% of us in this room, if we were put in that situation where all we have is manna and salwa, day in and day out, manna and quails, manna and salwa. And what's for water? What's for your drink? Water, right? Musa alayhi salam goes and strikes the rock, 12 springs come out, and all they have is water. It's not like they have Coca-Cola, juice, maybe sometimes milk, right? It's just water right from the tap. You thirsty? Go have some of that. So eventually, after you come home from a long day of work, you go and ask your wife. You're like, hey, what's for food? Okay, what's there to drink? Water. Tomorrow for breakfast, what do I have? What's for lunch tomorrow? What am I taking to work tomorrow? What am I going to have tomorrow for dinner? I'm sure, by the way, all of my Iranian friends, all of my Arab, Iraqi friends, all of you know what dal chawal is, because you guys have eaten over here in India enough times to know what dal chawal is. Sallu ala Eventually, you're going to be like, do you have anything else? Do you know how to cook anything else? Is Indianapolis just like in an economic hard times or something? Why is everything dal chawal? And this is what Bani Israel came and said to Musa. They're like, hey, your God likes to listen to you, apparently. We're not going to go make dua. They already said for some other requests, right? Can you go and ask him to go and give us some of these cool things? Now, what Egyptologists have also found is that in Egypt, the upper class people, the people who were the ministers, the pharaohs, all of these kinds of people, right? What they used to eat were these kinds of foods: lentils, onions. They used to have all of the things that were in Surah Al-Baqarah. By the way, Allah Ta'ala took it easy on them, right? In Genesis, actually not in Genesis, in I think it's Exodus. Exodus, the laundry list is longer. It's like, hey, can you give some fish, all of this kind of stuff. All of these are staples of aristocratic food back in Egypt. Now, here's the thing. If you're in prison, and I mean, anybody can go and call it out right now. I'm giving you ijazah. You can talk during my lectures. What do they give you in prison? What's for food? Oh, if you have a prison that gives you dal chawal, show me where that is. No, it's slop. It's prison slop, right? It's like it's gravy or something like that, right? Which for Pakistanis, that's not chawal. It's not exactly like fine gourmet food. So if that's all you get over there, then you come out. Mom goes and cooks you a nice home cooked meal. Bibi or daughter-in-law comes and cooks you a nice home cooked meal, right? Maybe it's not exactly what you were hoping for. Maybe it's, I don't know, paya or something like that. It's not exactly pulao. But it's something. It's not prison slop. And you'll come and say, do you have any of that prison slop on the menu? Excuse me? What are you talking about? What are they saying to Musa by asking for the same thing that the Egyptians used to eat? Are they just saying that we miss prison food, or are they also saying we miss prison? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing them, I gave you a savior. You were under slavery. I gave you a savior. He came and saved you. And right now, while you are too chicken to go and fight for the Holy Land, for the Promised Land, I'm giving you what you need. I'm giving you a cloud for shelter so that you don't get too baked in the sun. I'm giving you manna and salwa, and I'm giving you water. Right? You should be thankful that you have freedom. They're like, hey, can we have a little bit of that, slavery again? It's okay if we have prison food, but that's much better. Now, what would that translate to for today? Imagine Sahib al-Asri was Zaman. Comes and he goes and says, look, for about 6 months or whatever, right now, while we go and fight the Egyptian Bahut of our time, you're going to have to just survive on that job. Eventually, you're like, hey, I heard once upon a time that George Bush and Barack Obama and Donald Trump and Joe Biden, they used to have caviar. Mom, can you pray to your Lord that we have caviar? What are you actually saying to the Imam of your time? You kind of want those old times back. That's why it's such a slap in the face to Musa. That's why in that ayah number 61 of Surah Al-Baqarah, they react so violently. How dare you go and ask for something like that? So now Musa is rushing to go and get the solution. And he knows that these people are already on the verge of going towards an idol anyway. They're already on the verge of going towards Egypt and that shirk lifestyle all over again. So what do we see? He says, قَالَ هُمْ أُولَٰئِ عَلَىٰ أَثَرِي وَعَجِلْتُ إِلَيْكَ رَبِّي لِتَرْضَىٰ. He says, they're right behind me. It's not like I left them too far. I can kind of see them right there, their encampment at the bottom of the mountain. Now this has a dual meaning. They're right in my footsteps. I can just go back like any day. Also means they're on my sunnah. I've trained them well enough so that they know what to do in my absence. Hum ala athari. Athar means footsteps. They're already on my path. And I hurried up, my Lord. I quickened the process, ilayka, towards you, so that you were happy. Why are you asking me like as if you're angry at me that I came to you early on? And if you read this surah in the wrong way, it almost seems as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for as a punishment for Musa coming early, he went and gave the Bani Israel a test. No, 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 no. The Bani Israel were already on the verge of Dalala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala went and added a little bit of Mirch and Masala into their test to go and see how much it would take to really get them off of Sirat al-Mustaqim. Everyone following with me so far? Yes? So now, he says in ayah number 85, قال فإن قد فتنا قومك من بعدك وأضلهم السامري. We tried them while you were gone, O Musa, and the person who went and took them off of the right path is Samiri. Musa alayhi salam already knows that Samiri is one of the, one of the troublemakers in his problem. It's not the only one, but now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has straight away given him the culprit, which is important because Bani Israel has a problem, which we see before in Surah Al-Baqarah, where when there's a murder, this is the story of the Baqarah, they're like, no, 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 it was him. No, it wasn't me, it was my cousin. No, it wasn't me who killed the guy. It was my cousin's, second removed, uncle, Chacha. No, 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 it wasn't even me, it was someone else. No, it was a group of people. And so Musa alayhi salam needs Allah to show through a miraculous way who the culprit is, who's guilty. So Allah has already solved it. So you would think in your mind, when Musa comes back to his people, he's going to go straight to Samiri. He's going to be like, what's going on here, man? I thought like, we were good. 10 years in Egypt, everything is good. La ilaha illallah, I'm the messenger of Allah. What are you doing over here? This agent that you're going and making over here, the golden calf. But let's see who Musa alayhi salam goes to. Remember, I said the whole rest of Musa's story on the mountain, fast forward. The very next ayah, ayah number 86, فَرَجَعَ مُوسَى إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِ غَضْبَانَ أَسِفًا. Musa alayhi salam now returns to his people, and he is extremely angry and extremely disappointed. غَضْبَانَ أَسِفًا. And the first people who he talks to is قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ. Goes and addresses the people, the jama'ah. Doesn't go straight to Samiri, goes to the people. And he says to the people what? قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ أَلَمْ يَعِدُكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ وَعْدًا حَسَنًا. Didn't your master give you a promise that was beautiful? What would happen? Did you think that Allah was lying? Did you just have short-term memory loss? Help me understand. How did all of you go down this route? See, because look, brothers and sisters, many of our youth have the same question with the generation that Rasulullah raises and brings them up as the first Muslims. According to others, schools of thought, that title for those people is called the Sahaba, the companions. How did people? Because look, Islam is supposed to go and make you smart, sharp. How did people so quickly leave, become dumb, fall for a movie for a Jasad lahu khawar? How did this happen? So Musa alayhi salam is asking the people, what happened exactly? How did this happen? And so they're being asked, أَفَطَالَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْعَهْدُ أَمْ أَرَدْتُمْ أَنْ يَحِلَّ عَلَيْكُمْ غَضَبٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُمْ مَوْعِدِي. Was it just such a long time that I was gone? Fine, I was supposed to be gone for 30 days. I understand. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala went and extended that 30 to 40 days. Was it just such a long, long time? Did the years just go by so long that you forgot about what I had taught you? And here, this is Musa's sarcasm. Musa is sarcastic in a couple of places with Bani Israel. He says, was I gone for so many years that it just became so hard to remember? Or did you just have the intention to unleash the violent wrath of Allah? And that's why you decided to go and violate my promise. Which of them was it? So what do they say? قالوا ما أخلفنا موعدك بملكنا. We didn't, fail our wa'da, our promise with you on purpose. Brothers and sisters, if you don't mind, if you could all come a little bit closer. There are still some brothers and sisters who are trying to come in. رحم الله من ذكر قائما من آل محمد.
صل على محمد وآل محمد. نعرة هادري.
By the way, just as a reminder, I know probably some of you didn't hear. When I say the name of al-Qa'im, that's a motion to stand up and come forward. So, رحم الله من ذكر قائم آل محمد. While you're setting up, please come a little bit closer. Come a little bit closer. Another louder salawat in honor of Fatimia Zahra. A third and louder one in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen. قالوا ما أخلفنا موعدك بملكنا ولكننا حملنا أوزارا من زينة القوم فقذفناها وكذلك ألقى السامري. As we're reading this, we're realizing that it's not just the people who are responding. They sent their representatives. Who are their representatives? We all know that there are 12 tribes of Bani Israel. Each one of them have their tribe heads. Now, within each tribe, there are different families, and so according to some scholarly readings, there were 70 priests or leaders of Bani Israel who had this meeting with Prophet Musa. And so they come and say, look, we didn't go and betray you on our own. So now there's a meeting happening. Okay, first level was the people. Second level was the kind of senators and the representatives. Like, okay, you guys have jurisdiction over your localities. Tell me what happened. How did this happen? How did you go from La ilaha illallah to going and putting your head in sujood for a golden calf? And just because it moved, you're like, wow, this has got to be our God and the God of Musa. How did this happen? Explain to me how it happened so it never happens again. They say, we didn't go and do this out of our own, want. We didn't mean to go and, do this to your promise. But what happened was, each and every single person in Bani Israel, they had some jewelry, they had some, riches, they had this khazan. And so what happened was, as they're about to go and cross the sea, they come to us and they're like, look, Pharaoh is at our tails, and we're not going to go through a sea with all this stuff just dangling out of our pockets. We don't trust even ourselves, right? Let alone, Pharaoh. So the best and safest spot for all of our riches is that we go and deposit it with you guys, and you guys cross, and when we want it, we'll come back and get it from you guys. They're like, we don't want to go and hold on to your gold, jewelry, chains, and all this kind of stuff. But they didn't give us a choice, so we did. He says, okay, we didn't have really a choice. We didn't go and fall for this, golden calf. But our mistake was, they all came all at once, and they're like, hey, we want our gold back. Give us our gold. Give us our jewelry. All of them all at once said, we want to make an urgent withdrawal. Now, you guys have heard of these kinds of things. When the bank, everybody just rushes into the bank and they all want their money all out of the bank all at once. What happens? Is the bank able to honor all of it all at once? For those of you who have studied banking, especially the, I don't think it's the Austrian economic system, but at least the way how most of the global banking systems that have central reserves, the way how they do it is something called fractional reserve banking. Meaning basically if you go and deposit $1,000, they now manufacture $10,000 to go and lend out, and they keep a fraction of it ready if you want to go and withdraw all of it all at once. But they don't count on everybody going and withdrawing all at once. If it happens, the entire banking system collapses. Now, what happens over here is they receive withdrawal requests all at once. Everybody wants their gold. Now, they didn't know why everybody wants their gold all at once. They want their jewelry all at once. But they're like, okay, we didn't want this anyway. This is such a amana. This is such a, and it's so heavy. We don't want to go and keep carrying it around. We just went and dropped it. Like, here you go. Thank you. We didn't want to hold on to it anyway. That's what we did. Samiri. And that's when we realized they were giving it all to Samiri. Samiri went and threw it into the fire. So first level of meeting with Musa was with the people. And you all know, because I know I'm dealing with a smart crowd, who I'm relating this to. When Rasulullah is on Yom Qiyamah, now you know the levels of meetings he's going to take. He's going to come and ask us. Then he's going to ask some of the tribal leaders, some of the people who he knew, like, okay, I left you with a little bit of power. Okay, what happened? And it was so immediate. So anyway, we'll come back to that in a little bit. But right now, they say, فَأَخْرَجَ لَهُمْ عِجْلًا جَسَدًا لَهُ خُوَارٌ. He went and made for them an ijl, a calf, a baby cow. Now it's interesting that ijl also comes from the same root as ajal, meaning hurry, which is already something that Allah said, مَا عَجَلْتُ, right? Why did you hurry? Musa also, says that to the people. He says, فرجع موسى إلى قومه غضبان آسفا قال يا قوم ألم يعدكم ربكم وعدا حسنا فطال عليكم العهد أم أردتم أن يحل عليكم غضب من ربكم فأخذتم. So it seems like it's not over here, but it's close by in one of these ayahs. So he comes and says, or these chiefs come and say to Musa, yes, he went and made a calf for them. And this calf had a mooing sound, meaning basically when it made some holes, when the wind, went through it, it made a mooing sound. In our hadith, Allah goes and tells Musa says, okay, look, I understand where the ajal came from. Where did the khawar come from? Where did the sound come from? Allah says, I did. The first time, he just made a calf. And he said, do sujood. Nobody, failed the test. They all said, no, what are you talking about? We're not going to go and bow down to this idol. Then Allah went in and made the test harder and made the cow have a mooing sound. And many of them, that was it. That's all that they needed. Their iman was so shaky. It was ala harf, such that they immediately went into shirk and they did sujood. And if they didn't fail that time, Allah would have made it even harder. Maybe the cow would have started flying and had other superpowers. Just to go and see, how much do these people believe in me? I've shown them miracle after miracle after miracle. How easy is it going to be to take it all away? See, because when a prophet comes and for decades is working on a people, it takes, as many of you have heard, even the saying in English, it takes a village to raise even one child. It takes decades for a prophet to have some kind of result within a community. But to go and destroy it all, it takes a Samiri. It takes a Paul of Tarsus. It takes a Saqifa and a Abu Bakr and Umar and Abu Ubaidah and Jarrah. That's all it takes. It takes a few seconds, and Shaitan has everybody back into the ways of their Abba and Ajna. That's all it takes. Even if there's a Harun in the midst, even if there's an Imam Ali in the midst. And now we know, by the way, why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says to Imam Ali alayhi salam that your manzila to me is like the manzila of Harun to Musa, except that there is no prophet. This is the story, brothers and sisters. This is what's going to happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the story of Musa, gives so many warnings, prophecies, instructions. When he goes and says, leave in the middle of the night, because Fir'aun will follow you, and I will make the way for you for hijrah. What does Rasulullah end up doing? He leaves in the middle of the night because the Fir'auns of that society will follow him, and he leaves, and Allah makes a way for him. Even though he's cornered at the cave, mentioned even from this report, there's an enemy even in the cave with him who's trying to expose Rasulullah to the Quraysh. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah At-Tawbah, ayah number 40, لا تنصروه فقد نصر الله إذ هو ثاني اثنين. Everybody knows who the second person in the Quran was. They don't know. For that, refer to my previous mentions. Allah Ta'ala helped him. There are instructions in the Quran, hidden, latent, waiting for the Prophet and his Ummah. Because you can't just go and immediately say it with the Quraysh and everybody listening to the Quran. But hey, go and do Hijrah in the middle of the night. You can't go and say it with all of these people who are here in Mecca and Medina, that this is what's going to happen also to your people, Ya Rasulullah, as soon as you die. But you leave clues and hints. So that for 1400 years, while we are, inshallah, having some sort of relationship with the Quran, we can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew. The Ma'sumin, they knew. It's just people who had shaky iman. They never knew that their story was already written out for them. Sallallahu ala Muhammad. فقالوا هذا إلهكم وإله موسى فنسي. They said, and then he went and told them a lie. This is the God of Musa. It's also your God, but Musa just forgot. I don't have time right now. My time is limited. But go home today and read du'as and Quraysh. That's all I have to say. That's all. أفلا يرون ألا يرجع إليهم قولا ولا يملك لهم ضرا ولا نفعا. Couldn't they see that they couldn't even return a response to them? Couldn't help them, it couldn't harm them? وَلَقَدْ قَالَ لَهُمْ هَارُونَ. Now we've gone from the people to the chiefs to now who's the vice president who Musa left in charge in his place? Harun. And the Bible comes and says Harun was the one who was making it for them. How many of you have seen the Ten Commandments? The biblical story and the Ten Commandments, they really did Harun injustice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and saves Harun. And by the way, our brothers and sisters in other schools of thought have their version of their story. We have our version of our story. They think that Ali ibn Abi Talib was in a kumbaya friends relationship with the Khulafa. We say no. He says himself in Shaqshaqiyya, I drew a curtain against the Khilafah. And when they didn't want me on my terms, I secluded myself. We absolutely dispute whatever series wants to go and show, oh, they were the best of friends. He was helping them, and no, absolutely not. And again, I would refer you to things like Dawah and Information. I would refer you to the Fiqh in Nahj al-Balagha. These resources are there. The internet is open. This isn't something that in 2023 is new. These are all well known. This is our aqidah. And others are welcome to have their aqidah. I'm welcome to have my aqidah. I'm not going to go and sugarcoat and say that, oh, well, there was a little bit of friendship, but there was also a little bit of he wanted what he wanted. No. I don't know that. Let's have an honest, open, civil, polite discussion. And we will see whose ideas win. That's how these discussions need to happen. No more, oh, Hazrat this, Hazrat that. I know that there's this bad habit in our communities. Hazrat, Hazrat Umar. Would you say Hazrat Fir'aun? Would you say Hazrat Iblis? Absolutely not. When there are enemies of Allah, you need to be able to say that there's a better way. I'm not going to maybe in their, company say Lakhani. But I'm definitely not going to say Hazrat. I'm not going to say Radiallahu anhu. No. But I will not say Radiallahu anhu. I will say alayhi salatu wassalam. Sallu ala Muhammad. And I don't say this for sectarianism. I don't say this to go and drive wedges. I just say this because, look, at the end of the day, everyone is allowed to have their point of view. When we go and ask our brothers and sisters in Ahlul Sunnah, why don't you unite between yourselves? You have the Ahnaf, right? Hanafis. You have the Shawafi, you have the Shafi'is. You have the Malikis. You have the Hanbalis. Well, why don't you just go and unite? said that ikhtilaf in my ummah is a rahmah. So then when the Shia has an opinion, then you go and say kafir, kafir, Shia, kafir in the streets of Pakistan, and people are beheaded and they're killed. No, we know what the game is. It's your way or the highway, but when you guys can't figure it out between yourselves, then you go and pull out the hadith that ikhtilaf in my ummah is a ni'mah. No, so then come and say that for me too. Come and have a discussion with me. Yet, there are opinions in their school of thought, from Ibn Taymiyyah and the like, that the sword is easier to go and pull on the Shia than to go and argue. And we know why. It's hard to argue with us. Because we know their books. It's not about, fine, forget about right and wrong. Forget about all of that, right? It's just sad that we know our books and we know their books. And that's very unfortunate that, unfortunately, in their own madhab, in their own madrasa, they're not aware of the history. And we're sorry that this is the case. But we can't be at all times, trying to hold their hands and bring them. Like at some points, when the days of Fatimia come, we love Fatima Zahra, and it's not even necessarily about the hatred towards them. It's our love towards Fatima Zahra, Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen. And so I hope no one's, feelings are hurt or any of this kind of stuff. That's not my intention. Honestly, Allah knows my intentions, and it's not my intentions to hurt anyone. Okay? But it is my intention that we have an open, honest discussion. Have your questions for me after I come from the book, and that is absolutely fine. I love questions. We all love questions. We want those questions. What we don't want is for everything to be swept under the rug and to say, no, we're all Jahans, but we Allah, I'm sorry. That's just not something that I think I can handle anymore, and I think most of us would. يا قوم إنما فتنتم به وإن ربكم الرحمن فاتبعوني وأطيعوا أمري. Harun comes and says, guys, you have Ar-Rahman. He doesn't say Allah, he doesn't say Rabb. He says Ar-Rahman. Why? Because the people are looking for a loving and caring God, someone who they can have a transactional relationship with. You see, most other religions have a transactional relationship with their God. This is why you see other religions will go and climb 10,000 steps up to the top of a mountain just so they can say, please let my wife and I have kids. Please let me go and pass that math test. Please let me. You guys have all watched the Bollywood movies. You guys know exactly which scenes I'm referring to. This is why they go and do that, because there is a transactional relationship. Musa salam and the deen of Musa, which is the same deen as Muhammad and Al Muhammad, says you need to have a better relationship than that with your God. You need to realize that your Lord is Ar-Rahman. He does care for you. He is there for you at all times. He's not someone who you just say, hey, the Amazon delivery is going to be here, same day delivery, right? And then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't go and respond to you with, 2-day, prime delivery, then you're like, okay, you know what, it's time to go tell us. That's not how we go and interact with Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wise and He knows when to answer your dua, not you. You are supposed to have enough iman and have enough, tawakkul on Allah to know that He knows better when in your life you need your rizq and when you don't. So then, this is what Harun says. قالوا لن نبرح عليه عاكفين حتى يرجع إلينا موسى. We're going to sit here in this ibadah until Musa comes back. Harun is a prophet. He tries his best. When Musa comes back, let's see what he says. قال يا هارون ما منعك إذ رأيتم ظلما. Says, Ya Harun, what stopped you when you saw them going into ضلالة? ضلالة. Says, ألا تتبعني أفعصيت أمري. Do you just not follow me, or are you also not? Are you also trying to disobey my command? You of all people. Now, why is he saying this? Because Musa's inner circle knows that when he talks like this, it's not directed at him. He's talking to him, but also through him. When he shows this level of anger, it's because look, the people cannot handle this much anger from Musa. So Musa, as a leader, needs to know who he can direct it through, and that's Harun. Harun knows he's not angry at me. He knows I'm a prophet. He knows I'm Ma'soom. He hasn't forgotten all of a sudden the system of Allah. Says, قال يا ابن لا تأخذ بلحيتي ولا برأسي إني خشيت أن تقول فرقت بين بني إسرائيل ولم ترقبوا قولي. Says, all I wanted, all I feared was that you would accuse me. You cleft in half Bani Israel and you did not heed my word of advice. As Imam Ali alayhi salam said, Allah left me with a promise. The door is going to be attacked. Be patient if you can. We're coming to that. And I'll go slow so that you can all feel what Mawla al-Muttaqeen Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib meant to go through those moments. Then finally, remember on the mountain, Allah already went and identified who the culprit was. Said Samiri. 4 levels. He went through the people, then he went through the senators and the representatives, right? He went through the family tribe leaders. Then he went to Harun. Now for the 4th level, he goes to Samiri. Says, what's going on here, Ya Samiri? You tell me. What's your business? قال بصرت بما لم يبصروا به فقبضت قبضة من أثر الرسول. Here we go again, that أثر. Now there's a common translation. I'm going to give you a different translation. It's a beautiful translation. And for my brothers and sisters from Ahl Sunnah, these are in the books of Raghib al-Asfahani. This is also in Fakhruddin al-Razi's books. These are in so many of your own Mufassirin's books, and I'm going to use this over here because this is beautiful. I'll explain using both explanations. The first one is I saw what they couldn't see. And I saw the footsteps of the horse that Jibreel, the Rasul, rode on. And there was some miraculous, plants or herbs or grass or whatever that was growing up wherever that horse went. And I took that, and I went to do it. وكذلك سولت لي نفسي. But the second interpretation, pay attention to me, brothers and sisters. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. The second interpretation is I took the athar of Rasul. What did I say the athar of Rasul is? The sunnah of the Prophet. I took bits and pieces of that into my way. And even that, I went through it eventually. And this is just how my nafs wanted me to act. You know what's interesting? One of his companions came to him and told him that come and they do things like this and this. He says, even this they've changed. They haven't left anything from the deen of Rasulullah sallallahu intact except for the Qibla. Everything from the divinely revealed religion of Rasulullah has been changed. I saw the opportunity that they didn't see. I took from the teachings of the Prophet who left Musa. And even that, eventually when I was done with it, I left. I threw it. وكذلك سولت لي نفسي, and this is how my nafs goaded me on. Now Musa alayhi salam sees the problem with Samiri. He's like, okay, I know this guy has such a tongue. This is how he fooled Bani Israel. He even has a response ready for me. Now remember, I'm going to be equating this to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's going to be asking us, the Ummah, how did you let this happen to my daughter? He comes and asks the family tribe people, how did you let this happen to my daughter? He'll come and ask Ali ibn Abi Talib, didn't I give you this little flower of mine on the day of your wedding? Didn't I give this amana to you? What happened to my daughter? But eventually he will come to those people who when the thing was said to them, burn the house over the people in the house. Burn the house over the people in the house. They came back and said, but in it is Fatima. The mal'oon came and said, وَإِن Even then, what if Fatima is in there? Burn it all down. That enemy of Allah. When that second Khalifa, when Umar came and said, what if that is the moment when all of the previous moments, I've come from this mimbar and I told you about Hudaybiyah. I've come from this mimbar and I told you about the Raziyat al-Khamis. The Hasbuna Kitab Allah. I've now come and told you what he said with Fatima on the other side of the door. وَإِن Musa alayhi salam knows that for this kind of a slick-tongued person, the only thing you can do with a Samiri is to banish them and exile them. This is what the Ummah of Rasulullah, if they even, look, Hasbuna Kitab Allah, if they even had that much of a relationship with Kitab Allah, they would have known what to do with the Samiris of their time. To go and banish them and to have him keep on saying, La misas, don't touch me, don't even touch me. Banish them and make them outcasts from humanity. Not even from the Muslim Ummah, from humanity. Unfortunately, brothers and sisters, our Ummah is such that they come and do bay'ah, and they come and betray the Imam of the time, and they come and say, months after saying, Bakhin, Bakhin, Ya Abul Hasan, they come and say, وَإِن Even if Fatima is inside the house, burn it. Brothers and sisters, recently there have been many academic attempts from other schools of thought that say, well, he did come to the house with fire, and he did say, burn it over the house of Fatima, and burn it over even if Fatima is inside, but we don't have proof that he actually did it. Allahu Akbar. And it's true, even within our Shia narrative, we don't know exactly what happened. And this is an additional layer of dhulm upon Fatima Zahra, Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, that her Shia were forced into silence for decades and generations afterwards because the respect of the Khulafa was so strong that if you try to go and say what happened, you will be persecuted and you will be killed. Even if you don't say anything, the children of Fatima were persecuted and they were killed. The Sadat of Bani Fatima, they were all killed. This is why, by the way, brothers and sisters, quickly, when they come and ask us, well, why is there a difference between the Sayyids and the Sheikhs? Why do these have black terms and these have white terms? Why is there Sahm Sada and Sahm Imam? Why is there such an emphasis on the children of Fatima? It's because the enemies of Rasulullah also had an emphasis on Bani Fatima. They wanted to go, and Hajjaj wanted to go for Eid al-Adha. He comes and asks, what do people do on Eid al-Adha? He says they sacrifice the goats and the sheep and the cows. He says, then bear witness that I'm going to start killing anyone named Ali, Hassan, and Hussein. How many from the children of Fatima were killed just because they were descended from Ali and Fatima? But the first one, brothers and sisters, was the one who wasn't even allowed to be born Muhsin or Muhassin. After they came and set fire to the door, brothers and sisters, they came and kicked the door with Fatima behind it. She didn't know that it was going to happen. She thinks that my father, throughout my whole life, he's been coming, and especially in the last 6 months, he's been coming to this door and saying, Assalamu alayka ya ahla bayt al-nubuwa. Surely they won't come with their feet and disrespect this door. But they kicked it. They didn't know that they needed to go and have a carpenter look after this nail in the door and to go and fix up whatever's in the door. Well, what can I tell you, brothers and sisters? The door breaks. The nail goes into the ribs of Fatima Zahra. Take a deep breath, brothers and sisters. You can't keep on crying like this. You can't. I told you yesterday, for those of you who were here, he wants to do something, but the enemies of Allah are there. Zainab comes and says, "Come, Ali, come, Sajjad, come, we have to go. They're taking us now to Kufa." He says, "Pupi Amma, have you ever seen a son more mazloom than me? Who leaves his father without a shroud, without even my aba?" He's so sick, he keeps on falling from the top of the camel to the bottom of the camel, and the camel keeps on kicking the face of Sajjad. And all he can think about is his father Abdullah laying without a burial for 3 days in Karbala. That's all he can think about. So you all take a deep breath and just relax. Compose yourselves because we're still not done. Yeah. We're still not done with Fatima Zahra because they're still not done with her. I wish I could tell you that the door and the nail was all that there was. Well, what does Sulaim bin Qais say? He says, then after that, there were whips. Sadiq alayhi salam comes and says, if you have a daughter named Fatima, you know where I'm going with this. If you have a daughter named Fatima, I can't bear that you slap that Fatima because of what I keep on remembering that happened to my mother, Fatima. I wish I could tell you that the whippings were all. They kicked her in her womb so that they made sure Hassan and Hussein do not have another brother. Ali ibn Abi Talib has 2 deaths to worry about. They dragged her into the street and there were slappings on the face of Fatima Zahra. Have sabr on the final thing that I'm going to narrate from the mimbar and then into Masudwa. They say that when Ali ibn Abi Talib, bring your hearts now to that broken hearted husband. How many of you are here who are about to get married? How many of you are here right now that can remember those days when you were about to get married? Think right now of your wife who was so helpless at that time. Her father gives her to you, saying, you will be her wali while I'm alive and even after I am gone. For 9 years, Rasulullah was there and he saw Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib was taking such good care of his Fatima. How did he know? Just a few days after he dies, that promise that he made him take, that would already have to be implemented on. And his Fatima, Fatima bad'atu minni. Fatima is a piece of me. Man adaha, faqad adani. Whoever hurts her has hurt me. And whoever hurts me has hurt Rabbul Alameen. Ali ibn Abi Talib is now the only one who can come and give usul to Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha. Hassan and Hussein are 7 and 8 years old. Zainab and Kulthum are 5 and 6 years old. They are now on their first night without their ma. And they start crying and crying and crying. Imam comes and tells Asma bint Umays, saying the neighbors keep on complaining that ever since Rasulullah died, all your house has been a Baytul Ahzan. Stop this crying of Fatima. So Imam Ali alayhi salam, as you all know, goes and builds her a house to go and cry so that she can cry for her father, Rasulullah. I ask you, when your father died, or when he was close to dying, was there anyone there with whips and slaps telling you to stop crying because your father is about to die? Or did they give you your peace and quiet and your isolation so you could process it and you could deal with it? Is there a daughter who lost more than Fatima when she lost Rasulullah? And yet these people who call themselves believers in Rasulullah whip her and slap her when she cries for Rasulullah. So Imam Ali tells Asma, quiet the children, tell them to have sabr because this is something that happens and they lose parents and I'm still here, but tell them to quiet down. Asma goes to the children and she quiets them down. She says, so as soon as I did, I heard from inside the house a shriek from Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, such that I've never heard before. And I come running back inside. Mola, if I was asked from anybody, who is the bravest of the Arabs? I would tell them that the man who was at Badr. I would tell them the man who was at Uhud, the man who was at Khaybar, the man who was at Hunayn. That hero who never once retreated. Karrarun, khayru farra. But what is this that I hear from you now? He says that Fatima hid this from me in her final days. Yesterday, I told you all the value of being anonymous and leaving it with Allah. I told you that Yaqub hid it from his 11 children about his grief for Yusuf. And even when he did cry, he says, إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. Fatima, you didn't have to hide this from me. You didn't have to wear a niqab in front of me that there's a black eye. How was I supposed to know that while you were telling me your final will, telling me bury me in the secret of the night, that each and every single sauce that you were breathing was painful for you. Each and every single movement was painful for you. Brothers and sisters, there was a doctor who was in one of the majalis of Iran. This was about 10, 15 years ago, and in one of these majalis, he heard that the nail went through and punctured the rib of Fatima Zahra. The Maulana sees that he is crying like no one else is crying, like a baby is crying. After all of the matam, everything is done, he comes and asks him, Azizan, Baradar, what is wrong? What's happened? What part of my musibah affected you in this way so that I can also join you and cry with you? He says he can't bring himself to say it. He's just crying, crying. He says, Maulana Sahib, I'm a doctor. And I know that when a rib is punctured, each and every single time. By the way, this is why Christians also cry for Jesus, because when they poked his ribs with the spear and he died of asphyxiation, he had to go and heave himself on the cross and bring all of his muscles to go and just inhale. Now bring yourselves to my Fatima at 18 years old. The doctor says, how did she survive? How did she live even for a few days? They say that she died in her sujood. That would be the most painful way to die. How much love does she have for her Rabb that she wants to die in sujood? These are things that I'm not a doctor, I would know, I would not know. How am I supposed to know? Ali ibn Abi Talib knows everything in the kainat. He knows the kinds of pains. This is why he shrieked. He says, I didn't know that Fatima was keeping this from me. And she died in secrecy. She couldn't even confide in me. When Ali was alone, later on in years, he used to tell everything to the well. But when there was Fatima, he would tell everything to Fatima. That's why it was so hard for Ali ibn Abi Talib in those later years with the well, that Fatima couldn't tell me everything she was going through in her final days. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Dear brothers and sisters, raise your hands in dua. Oh Allah, we ask you by your beautiful, glorious names, Bismik al-Azim al-A'zam, 10 times. Ya Allah, 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 إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها اكشف عنا السوء يا الله. اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا، كفر عنا سيئاتنا، وتوفنا مع الأبرار، مع فاطمة الزهراء وآبائها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها. Oh Allah, accept from us this qaleel. Oh Allah, using these tears, there are many who are in this majlis who are also online, who have many hajat, who have been waiting for days like this, people who are in the hospitals, people who are not even in the hospitals anymore, but they have terminal conditions. There are so many people who are in need of our hajat, people who have asked us for du'as, whether we remember them or not. 5 times, brothers and sisters, with the blessed ayah of the Quran. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Louder, louder. بقضاء الحوائج بشفاء المرضى. Raise your hands high, louder, louder. بتعجيل الفرج عما وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والشهداء والعلماء